Ira froze with a cup of coffee in her hands when she heard a familiar voice at the next table. Her heart sank. It was her husband Alexander. She carefully turned her head and saw him with a young red-haired woman she had seen several times near his office. This fool would get nothing. I hid the real will in my safe, and the cat is my father's birthday, Alexander said smugly, stroking his companion's hand. Aunt Claudia left a fortune, but Ira doesn't even suspect it. She thinks that there will be no inheritance at all. The red-haired girl laughed. You're a genius, Sasha. What if she suspects something? What can she do? She sits at home, knits her socks. She doesn't even know where my safe is. And the will that she saw at the notary's is a fake. The real one is in a bank safe, and the duplicate is at home. Ira felt goosebumps run down her spine. Aunt Claudia, Alexander's sister, died 3 months ago. The notary told them that no will was left and all the property would go to the state. It turns out that Alexander lied. Without waiting for the end of their conversation, Ira quietly left the cafe. On the street, she was overcome with anger, which she had not felt for many years. 28 years of marriage. And this is how it all ended. On the way home, she feverishly recalled her father-in-law's birthday. October 15, 1942. She remembered this date better than her own. Every year she bought gifts, organized family dinners. At home, Ira went to her husband's office. Behind the massive desk in the corner stood a small safe. She had never been interested in its contents, trusting Alexander with the family finances. Now it seemed naive. With trembling fingers, she dialed the code November 15, 942. The safe opened with a quiet click. Inside were documents, bank statements and a large envelope with the seal of the notary's office. Ira took out the envelope. On it was written the will of Claudia Petrovna Smirnova. Inside were not one, but 2 wills. The first, dated last year, stated that all property passed on to her nephew Alexander. The second, later contained unexpected information. Claudia Petrovna left half of her fortune to Ira for her care and attention to the family. Alexander received the remaining half. But that was not all. The safe contained correspondence between Alexander and some Yuri Mikhailovich. It became clear from the letters that they had forged real estate documents more than once. Claudia was not the only victim. Ira took a photo of all the documents on her phone and carefully put them back. She needed a plan of action. The first thing she did was contact her neighbor Marina, who worked as a lawyer in a large company. Marina carefully studied the photos. Ira, this is serious. This is not only a forgery of the will, but also fraud on an especially large scale. We must immediately contact law enforcement agencies, she said. But how can we prove it? The will is in his safe, and I got access to it. Not entirely legal, Ira worried. We will find a way. I have a friend who is an investigator. The main thing is not to show Alexander that you know something. The next day, Ira met with investigator Petrov. He turned out to be an experienced professional who immediately assessed the scale of the problem. Your husband is involved in an organized group. We have been looking for this Yuri Mikhailovich for a long time. He specializes in forging the wills of elderly people, especially those who live alone, explained Petrov. What should I do? Help us? But it will not be safe. Are you ready? Ira nodded. In these few days, she discovered in herself powers that she did not suspect. According to the investigator's plan, Ira was supposed to continue to behave as usual while the police collected evidence. The hardest thing was to pretend to Alexander that nothing had changed. "How are you?" he asked in the evenings, and she answered, "Everything is fine," while the rage was boiling inside. A week later, the operation began. Investigators simultaneously searched Alexander, Yuri Mikhailovich, and 3 other accomplices. In Alexander's safe, they found not only Claudius's will, but also property documents for 4 other elderly people. When Alexander was brought home for the investigative experiment, he saw Ira surrounded by investigators and understood everything. "Did you set me up?" His face distorted with anger. "No, Alexander, you set yourself up. I was your faithful wife for 28 years, and you decided that I was a fool who deserved nothing," Ira answered calmly. "How did you know the cat from the safe?" Ira smiled. "At your father's birthday. You yourself told your mistress in the cafe. By the way, the investigators are already talking to her. It turns out that she is also aware of your machinations." Alexander's face turned pale. He clearly did not expect that he was overheard in that cafe. The investigation lasted several months. It turned out that the group of fraudsters had been operating for 5 years, deceiving more than 10 families. The damage amounted to several tens of millions of rubles. Claudia's real will was recognized as valid. Ira received her legal half of the inheritance, an apartment in the city center, and a substantial sum in a bank account. The court sentenced Alexander to 6 years in prison. Yuri Mikhailovich received 8 years as the organizer of the group. The red-haired lover got off with a suspended sentence. She was able to prove that she did not know about the scale of the fraud. In the courtroom, when the verdict was read out, Ira was sitting next to Marina. Other deceived families were nearby. Now they have a chance to get their property back. "Don't you regret it?" Marina asked quietly. "About what? About protecting your rights or about helping to punish the fraudsters?" Ira shook her head. "You know, I only regret one thing, that I was blind for a long time. But now I see everything very clearly." After the trial, an elderly woman, Anna Sergeyevna, whose apartment the scammers also tried to take away, approached dyre. "Thank you, dear. If it weren't for you, I would have ended up on the street. My son died, I have no relatives, and I didn't even know who to turn to for help." "We all have to protect each other," Ira replied. And these words reflected her new understanding of life. The divorce was finalized quickly. Alexander did not resist from prison. Ira sold the large apartment where she lived with her husband and moved to a cozy 2-room apartment that she inherited from Claudia. Investigator Petrov offered her a job in a public organization that helped elderly people protect themselves from scammers. Ira agreed. Now she knew how important it is not to remain silent in the face of injustice. 6 months passed. Ira consulted people in difficult situations, helped them understand legal issues. Her experience in fighting scammers turned out to be invaluable. One day, a young woman with a story very similar to her own. The husband hid the inheritance, tried to deceive his wife. "What should I do?" "I'm afraid I can't handle it," the visitor cried. "You can handle it," Ira said confidently. "The main thing is not to be afraid to act. Justice does not come by itself. You have to fight for it, and remember, you are stronger than you think.